For critics covering TIFF, this is your glamorous life. 11 days of shuffling between lineups and press conferences, but this year, the critics covering the movies look a little different. Meet Yolanda Machado and Valerie Complex, two of the 174 new journalists attending TIFF this year, an effort by the organization to bring fresh critical perspectives. Complex is a black queer woman from the Bronx. Machado is a Latino feminist from Los Angeles.
I use La La Land as my example a lot. Not saying that I don't like it, but when people were just on and on about it, I went to see it, walked out. LA is a city with over 5 million Latinos. Why is there not even one in any shot?
To help get more points of view like Machado's, TIFF worked with Rotten Tomatoes, Netflix, and film studios, paying for accommodations and travel to increase the media list by 20%. Besides reporting, I also review movies on CBC, and part of the problem is most film critics look a lot like me. Take a look at the organization I belong to, the Toronto Film Critics Association. It currently has 40 members, but less than 1/3 are female, and just 5 are people of color. And it's not just a Toronto issue. Professor Stacey Smith studied over 59,000 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. At a panel on media diversity, she didn't hold back.
I promise depressing, I'm delivering. Only 21% of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes were written or authored by female reviewers. Of top critics, the underrepresented number dips down to 12%.
Professor Smith's research also shows how a critic's identity affects how a film is reviewed, which is what happened at TIFF for the movie If Beale Street Could Talk.
I love you.
From the director of the Oscar-winning Moonlight, the movie follows a woman trying to save her fiancé, wrongly accused of a crime. Critics of color described it as a movie that contains multitudes and a heart-swelling Harlem romance. But many were offended by Variety critic Peter DeBruge, who zeroed in on the too cute costumes and described Canadian Stephan James as a baby daddy. Now, yes, I am a white dude, and I loved Moonlight, but I was underwhelmed by Beale Street, so I decided to hash it out with Valerie Complex. I felt like his character was so... It's almost like he was on a pedestal. He was so just beautiful artist, suffering.
Sometimes, depending on who you are, you may not have male role models or may not have been treated in the way you should be treated by a certain someone. And so this is why the character may have been put on a pedestal, because we don't do that enough for black men.
That kind of insight is why TIFF brought Complex to Toronto. But even more than sharing her view, what made TIFF stand out was the access.
Invitations to things, and people actually answering their emails when I email them.
And that means work for you.
Saying yes means work.
At the end of the fest, Yolanda Machado has a brain-melting 30 films for review under her belt. A lot of material to pitch to clients, though what she really wants is a full-time job with a major paper.
As far as the outlets that really need changes, nothing.
The outlets you work for, would they have been able to afford to send you?
No, they don't fund freelancers.
So without this program,
I would not be here.
As TIFF wraps up, the Me Too-inspired legal fund, Time's Up, is also launching its own initiative, a database of underrepresented voices called Critical. The goal? To make it easier for studios to find critics left out of the spotlight. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.